Millennium News Hour. I am Tanziba Naurin. In today's bulletin, we will get you detailed news from across the nation and the world. Let's begin with the headlines of the day. US midterm, control of Congress seemed unclear in close battle. Abortion rights boosted with defeat of Kentucky amendment. Voters approve recreational marijuana in Maryland, Missouri. US to climate summit, American big steps won't be repealed. Tropical storm Nicole bears down on the Bahamas, Florida. Elon Musk sells $3.95 billion worth of Tesla stock. Facebook parent Meta cuts 11,000 jobs, 13% of workforce. Villages and towns in Ukraine see heavy fighting, shelling. Sean Penn loans Oscar to Zelensky until Ukraine wins war. Virus lockdowns hit China economic powerhouse, Guangzhou. Police detain man after eggs thrown at King Charles III. $18-carat pink diamond reaps $28.8 million at Geneva auction. Golden Knights beat Maple Leafs 4-3 in OT, win 8 straight. And Senegal forward Sadio Mane is out for World Cup with injury. Now news in detail. At first, let's have a look on midterm election result update. Mayor Muriel Bowser was poised to coast to a third term Tuesday after a campaign focused on her leadership during the COVID-19 pandemic and on her history as one of the faces of Washington's ongoing quest for statehood. Democrat John Fetterman won Pennsylvania's pivotal race for U.S. Senate, flipping a Republican-held seat as he recovered from a stroke during the bare-knuckled campaign and giving Democrats hope they can retain control of the closely divided chamber to boost President Joe Biden's agenda for 2 more years. New Mexico's Democratic Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham has won re-election to a second term by defeating Republican Mark Ronchetti on pledges to safeguard access to abortion and sustain public spending on social safety net programs. Alaska Republican Governor Mike Dunleavy is vying to become the first governor in the state since Democrat Tony Knowles in 1998 to be elected to back-to-back terms. Democrat Hillary Scholten on Tuesday won a congressional seat being vacated by a Michigan Republican who voted to impeach Donald Trump. Democrat Nate Lamont has won re-election as Connecticut governor, defeating Republican businessman Bob Stefanowski for the second time in 4 years following a campaign battle that focused on abortion access, crime, and the cost of living. Democrat Katie Hobbs led Republican Kari Lake in the race for Arizona governor, but the battle for control of the crucial battleground state was too early to call. Six-term Republican Representative Mark Amodei has defeated Elizabeth Mercedes Cruz, as expected in Nevada's rural northern district where no Democrat has ever won. Democratic Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer won a second 4-year term in Tuesday's election, defeating Republican challenger Tudor Dixon in the battleground state, where abortion had become a key issue. Montana Republican Matt Rosendale won a second term in the U.S. House on Tuesday as he fended off a pair of challengers in the race for a newly drawn district representing the eastern portion of the state. Razor-thin margins around the country left control of Congress still undetermined Wednesday, but Democrats showed surprising strength in the midterm election, topping Republicans in a series of competitive races and defying expectations that high inflation and President Joe Biden's low approval ratings would drag his party to key defeats. In the most heartening news for Democrats, John Fetterman flipped Pennsylvania's Republican-controlled Senate seat that's key to the party's hopes of maintaining control of the chamber. It was too early to call critical Senate seats in Wisconsin, Nevada, Georgia, and Arizona that could determine the majority. In the House, Democrats kept seats in districts from Virginia to Kansas to Rhode Island, while many districts in states like New York and California had not been called. Democrats also were successful in governors' races, winning in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, battlegrounds critical to Biden's 2020 win over Donald Trump. But Republicans held on to governors' mansions in Florida, Texas, and Georgia, another battleground state Biden narrowly won 2 years ago. Votes were still being counted across the country, meaning Republicans could still emerge with control of both chambers of Congress. But there was no strong GOP surge, uplifting for Democrats who had braced for sweeping losses and raised questions about the size of Republicans' governing majority if they win the House. Kentucky voters rejected a ballot measure aimed at denying any constitutional protections for abortion, handing a victory to abortion rights supporters who have seen access to the procedure eroded by Republican lawmakers in the deeply red state. The outcome of Tuesday's election highlighted what appeared to be a gap between voter sentiment and the expectations of Kentucky's Republican-dominated legislature, which imposed a near-total ban on abortions and put the proposed constitutional amendment on the ballot. While a significant moral victory for abortion rights advocates, the amendment's defeat will have no practical impact on the right to an abortion if a sweeping ban on the procedure approved by lawmakers survives a legal challenge presently before the state's Supreme Court. Still, the amendment's rejection leaves open the possibility that abortion could be declared a state right by the court. Missouri voters have approved a ballot measure legalizing recreational marijuana for adults 21 and older and expunging most records of past arrests and convictions. Approval of the new constitutional amendment comes just 4 years after Missouri voters legalized medical marijuana. The latest initiative will allow those licensed to sell medical marijuana to quickly convert to general sales. Records involving previous non-violent marijuana offenses will automatically be expunged, except for selling to minors or driving under the influence. The initiative also allows people currently incarcerated for most non-violent marijuana offense to have their convictions overturned and be set free. Revenue from a state tax on marijuana sales will fund the expungement process, veteran services, drug addiction treatment, and public defenders. US President Joe Biden is coming to international climate talks in Egypt this week with a message that historic American action to fight climate change won't shift into rivers, as happened twice before when Democrats lost power. Current and former Biden top climate officials said the vast majority of the summer's incentive-laden $375 billion climate and health spending package, by far the biggest law passed by Congress to fight global warming, was crafted in a way that will make it hard and unpalatable for future Republican Congresses or presidents to reverse it. Outside experts agree, but say other parts of the Biden climate agenda can be stalled by a Republican Congress and courts. Twice in the 30-year history of climate negotiations, Democratic administrations helped forge an international agreement, but when they lost the White House, their Republican successors pulled out of those pacts. Crews evacuated dozens of people from vulnerable locations in the northwestern Bahamas as tropical storm Nicole approached Wednesday, and residents of Florida braced for the storm, which could strengthen to a rare November hurricane. We are forecasting it to become a hurricane as it nears the northwestern Bahamas and remain a hurricane as it approaches the east coast of Florida. Daniel Brown, a senior hurricane specialist at the Miami-based National Hurricane Center, said Wednesday. Nicole is the first storm to hit the Bahamas since Hurricane Dorian, a devastating Category 5 storm that struck the archipelago in 2019 before hitting Storm Wary, Florida on Wednesday night and moving into Georgia on Thursday. In the Bahamas, officials said early Wednesday that only a few people were in the more than 24 shelters that opened. Flooding and power outages were reported in Abaco ahead of the storm's arrival. Twitter's new owner and Tesla CEO Elon Musk sold nearly $4 billion worth of Tesla shares, according to regulatory filings. Musk, who bought Twitter for $44 billion, sold 19.5 million shares of the electric car company from November 4 to November 8, according to Tuesday's filings with the Securities and Exchange Commission. He sold $7 billion of his Tesla stock in August as he worked to finance the Twitter purchase he was trying to get out of at that time. In all, Musk has sold more than $19 billion worth of Tesla stock since April, including those in Tuesday's filings, likely to fund his share of the Twitter purchase. The takeover of Twitter has not been smooth, and the social media platform has seen the exodus of some big advertisers in recent weeks, including United Airlines, General Motors, REI, General Mills, and Audi. Musk acknowledged a massive drop in revenue at Twitter, which heavily relies on advertising to make money. Musk had signaled that he was done selling Tesla shares, and the revelation that those sales continue left some industry analysts exasperated. Facebook parent Meta is laying off 11,000 people, about 30% of its workforce, as it contends with filtering revenue and broader tech industry woes, CEO Mark Zuckerberg said in a letter to employees Wednesday. The job cuts come just a week after widespread layoffs at Twitter under its new owner, billionaire Elon Musk. There have been numerous job cuts at other tech companies that hired rapidly during the pandemic. Zuckerberg as well said that he had made the decision to hire aggressively, anticipating rapid growth even after the pandemic ended. Unfortunately, this did not play out the way I expected, Zuckerberg said in a prepared statement. Not only has online commerce returned to prior trends, but the macroeconomic downturn, increased competition, and ad signal loss have caused our revenue to be much lower than I had expected. I got this wrong, and I take responsibility for that. Meta, like other social media companies, enjoyed a financial boost during the pandemic lockdown era because more people stayed home and scrolled on their phones and computers. But as the lockdowns ended and people started going outside again, revenue growth began to falter. Now it's time for global updates. Villages and towns in Ukraine saw more heavy fighting and shelling Wednesday as Ukrainian and Russian forces strained to advance on different fronts after more than 8.5 months of war. At least 9 civilians were killed and 24 others were wounded in 24 hours, the Ukrainian president's office said. It accused Russia of using explosive drones, rockets, heavy artillery, and aircraft to attack 8 regions in the country's southeast. Ukrainian and Russian forces also clashed overnight over Snihurivka, a town about 50 kilometers north of the southern city of Kherson. Ukraine's army hopes to reclaim the Russian-occupied city, the only regional capital captured during Moscow's February 24 invasion and a key target of an ongoing counteroffensive. Kirill Stremosov, the deputy head of the Kherson region's Kremlin-appointed administration, said in a telegram post that the Ukrainian army had gained a foothold along a railway line in Snihurivka's north. In a separate post, he claimed Russian forces had repulsed the Ukrainian advance. Actor Sean Penn, who is making a documentary about Russia's invasion of Ukraine, has loaned one of his 2 Oscars to Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky and told him, "When you win, bring it back to Malibu." Zelensky's office on Wednesday released the video of the encounter during Penn's most recent visit to Ukraine, his third since the February 24 start of the war. The president tweeted that the Oscar was a symbol of faith in the victory of our country. Penn, who has been involved in numerous international humanitarian and anti-war efforts over the years, told Zelensky that every time he leaves Ukraine, "I feel like a traitor. But if I know this is here with you, then I will feel better and stronger for the fights," Penn said as he pulled the statuette from a black bag and placed it on a table in front of Zelensky. "When you win, bring it back to Malibu, because I feel much better knowing there is a piece of me here." Zelensky at first hesitated about accepting the statue, then quipped, "We have to win quick." It wasn't clear when the encounter occurred or which Oscar Penn left behind. Penn has won 2 Best Actor Academy Awards, in 2003 for Mystic River and in 2008 for Milk. A surge in COVID-19 cases has spurred lockdowns in the southern Chinese manufacturing hub of Guangzhou, adding to financial pressure that has disrupted global supply chains and sharply slowed growth in the world's second-largest economy. Residents in districts encompassing almost 5 million people have been ordered to stay home at least through Sunday, with one member of each family allowed out once per day to purchase necessities, local authorities said Wednesday. The order came after the densely populated city of 13 million reported more than 2,500 new cases over the previous 24 hours. Public transport has been suspended and classes halted across much of Guangzhou, while flights to Beijing and other major cities have been cancelled, according to state media. China has retained its strict zero-COVID policy despite relatively low case numbers and no new deaths. The country's borders remain largely closed and internal travel and trade is fraught with over-changing quarantine regulations. A protester was arrested Wednesday after hurling eggs and vitriol at King Charles III and Camilla, the Queen consort, as they walked in the northern England city of York. The incident happened as the king and his wife were entering York through Micklegate Bar, a medieval gateway where monarchs are traditionally welcomed to the city. Video footage showed several eggs in motion and smashed on the ground. None appeared to hit the royal couple, who continued to greet crowds. Several police officers could be seen grappling with a man at a crowd barrier. Britain's PA news agency reported that he booed and shouted, "This country was built on the blood of slaves," as he was being detained. Other members of the crowd tried to drown him out by chanting, "Shame on you" and "God save the king." Charles and Camilla traveled to York as part of a series of engagements around the UK, marking the start of the new king's reign. They also visited the city's cathedral, York Minster, and unveiled a statue of the king's mother, Queen Elizabeth II, who died in September after 70 years on the throne. A pear-shaped 18-carat pink diamond billed as a rarity sold at a Geneva auction for 28.4 million Swiss francs, including fees and taxes, on the lower end of the expected range. The fortune pink fancy vivid pink stone, said to be the largest of its kind and shaped to go on the block, headlined Christie's latest Geneva sale of jewelry. It had been expected to fetch between 25 million and 35 million. The auction house said an unidentified Asian buyer snapped up the diamond. Max Fawcett, head of Christie's jewelry department in Geneva, said the stone with a strong, saturated pink color was mined in Brazil more than 15 years ago. He declined to identify its owner, but described the diamond as a true miracle of nature. Christie says the first pink diamonds ever recorded were found in India's Golconda mines in the 16th century, before others turned up over the centuries in places like Africa, Australia, Brazil, and Russia. Now it's time for business news. today's New York stock close price is 14,587.79. The NYSE Composite is decreased by 301.51 points or 2.03%. Tokyo stock close price is 27,716.43. The Nikkei 225 index is decreased by 155.68 points or 0.56%. Shanghai stock close price is 3,048.1676. The Shanghai Composite Index is decreased by 16.33 points or 0.53%. Hong Kong stock close price is 16,358.52. The Hang Seng Index is decreased by 198.79 points or 1.20%. Bombay stock close price is 61,033.55. The Sensex Index is decreased by 151.60 points or 0.25%. Now a look of today's sports stories. Riley Smith scored his second goal of the game 23 seconds into overtime, and the Vegas Golden Knights beat the Toronto Maple Leafs 4-3 Tuesday night for their 8th straight win. Jack Eichel and Nicholas Roy also scored for Vegas, which has won 12 of 14 this season. William Karlsson had 2 assists and Logan Thompson stopped 28 shots. In the extra period, Smith took a breakaway pass from Shea Theodore and roofed a backhand on Källgren for his 7th of the season. Vegas finished a sweep of the 2-game season series, also beating Toronto 3-1 at home on October 24 to start the streak. Timothy Liljegren scored twice and Mitch Marner had a goal and an assist for Toronto, and Erik Källgren made 16 saves. The Maple Leafs snapped a 3-game win streak, including victories against Boston at home on Saturday and at Carolina on Sunday. Senegal forward Sadio Mane is in doubt for the World Cup after Bayern Munich said Wednesday he would miss the last league game before the tournament with a leg injury. Bayern said the 2-time African Player of the Year had an injury to the head of the fibula bone in his lower right leg. Bayern didn't specify how serious the injury might be, saying only that Mane would not be available to play Schalke on Saturday. Further examinations will follow in the coming days. FC Bayern is also in contact with the medical staff of the Senegalese Football Association, Bayern said in a statement. Mane was in clear discomfort after a blow to the right leg early in Bayern's 6-1 win over Werder Bremen on Tuesday and was substituted in the 20th minute. Let's have a look on today's weather chart. That's all in today's news. Keep watching Millennium News 24 for latest updates. Millennium TV USA and Millennium News 24 network is transmitted and available to be watched free for all LED TVs such as Sony, Samsung, LG, Roku TV, Amazon TV and Apple TV. And also in all European countries and Australia available with Sky Network, Worldwide Jagu TV, Radiant IPTV, Worldwide Jagu BD Network and Horizon Satellite globally. Stay connected with us for all types of informative and entertainment program. Thank you.